go to that. Apa jauh dah dia juga pinky ni.
What do we want? When do we want them? Now! And when the travelers came marching in, and when the travelers came marching in, we want it counted in our number. Oh, when the travelers came marching in, and when the travelers came marching in, and when the travelers came marching in, we want it counted in our number. Oh, when the travelers go marching in. What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? Now! Travelers' rights are human rights. 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 What do we want? Horse rights. When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Horse rights. When do we want it? Now! We still count. We still count. When do we want them? Now!
Hello. So basically, they're in the Southampton one.
Travelers' rights to human rights! Travelers' rights to human rights! Allora, questa qui è
No one can hear you.
No one can hear you in there. We're supposed to be in Parliament.
You do the welcome here, say no to racism, don't let it
Petitioning the Science Organisation and a new purpose on top. Royal working together in this fight, because decent housing and event control is the future for all of us. So although the government tries to stigmatise us, tries to pour scorn on tenants, claim we're all benefit scroungers, we need to be clear. We're not divided on the basis of our tenure, we're not divided on the basis of means testing, whether we're on benefits or not, but we're not divided on the basis of where we were born or what our passport is. This is a movement for homes for people. We're not blaming migrants, we're not blaming people who've got something to top of takeaway more than us. This is a chance for us to all stand together for the homes we need. So I'm really pleased, I think people are still coming in, I'm really pleased to invite our first speaker, who's Natalie Bennett on behalf of the Green Party. Natalie Bennett. Thank you very much, and hasn't it been a wonderful march today? Well done everyone, and well done the weather. Let's give the weather a cheer. You might say that the weather is smiling on this cause, and boy, is it an important cause. The fact is, the call to kill the housing bill is a call to preserve social housing, preserve council housing in Britain. We need to keep our social housing, our council housing, defend it for now and for the future. The fact is, whether it's pay to stay, I was just talking to someone on the march who was saying, what am I going to do? My 19-year-old is about our household income over the limit. People can be forced out of their homes. In many parts of the country, pay to stay is actually pushing people to exercise their right to buy, because they won't be able to afford the rent, but they'll be able to afford a mortgage. How crazy is that? Absolutely crazy. And people will think, well, I shouldn't work, I can't afford to work, I have to stay home. That's a Tory government that's inflicting that on people. Now the fact is, the Tories behind us, they don't have a stable majority. They lost the Sunday trading bill last week. We really need today to not just kill the housing bill, but send a much bigger message to say 2020 is too far away. We need to get rid of these Tories now! Isn't brilliant, but so people can cram in, because that's how we'll be living if they get away with it.
Yes.
Next, I want to introduce some tenants from an estate which is literally being sold from under them as we speak, and they'll tell you a bit more about that. Butterfield's tenants.
So our social housing trust that owned our houses has sold them off to a shady developer who is auctioning them off as a vacant housing with us in them. Obviously this is completely mad, and there are homes and they're where we live, and it's our community, and some of us have been there for 20 years, 16 years, and it's just completely changing everyone's lives around. So we've had 2 rounds of evictions so far, 16 people out of possible 63 homes on the estate. There's 2 whole streets of London in Walthamstow, so we are fighting against this because we want to live in our homes, because they're our homes. So that's the sort of, we've got a tenants association going now as of yesterday, and we are fighting for our lives as they are at the moment against that trade. There are flyers going around, we have a petition running which is so far doing incredibly well. We've got almost 3,000 signatures, so if you could just all pop online and sign it and do share it, social media. Any exposure is good exposure. We're getting as much as we can out of this, and we want to make it stop. Sorry folks, but okay, next, I'm really pleased to say that we are beginning to shift this argument. 4 months ago, we had a meeting with some politicians, and including some Labour shadow politicians, about fighting the housing bill. And they said to us, tenants aren't really bothered. So we thought, well, let's show whether tenants are really bothered. Let's build this campaign. And I think the message that we're sending now is that everybody's bothered, and anybody who isn't bothered yet had better be. But one person who throughout this process has always stood by council housing, has always stood by this campaign and the fight for homes for people, I'm very pleased to introduce next is John McDonnell, Shadow Chancellor.
I'll explain why I'm here. Tonight, in my constituency in West London, there'll be 200 families at least homeless in a bed and breakfast. There'll be other families sleeping in sheds because we have a massive expansion of beds and sheds. And these are sheds and garages rented to families. I have in my constituency now, in 2016, in the 5th richest country in the world, shanty towns being developed, people sleeping in parks, along the canal, under bridges. Why? Because for the past 30 years, we haven't built council houses, and we've committed the crime successive governments of selling them off. And that's what this bill is all about. Real sell-offs. And here's the irony, in my constituency, the Tory Council is renting back the very homes, council homes, they sold up 20 years ago. That's a crime. It's a crime to sell properties at the moment when we have this housing crisis. So that's why we're fighting this bill, because it will mean forcing people out of their homes and denying the opportunity of families to have a decent roof over their heads. But when we give them this commitment, we'll fight this bill all we can in Parliament. But also I give you this commitment. When we go back into government, we will start building homes again. And there'll be council homes. And there'll be affordable homes. But between now and then, we need to campaign to expose the housing crisis that's before us at the moment. Support every family threatened with eviction. Support every campaign when they try to sell off the estates. And make sure we expose that properties in London now are being used for speculative gain against the wishes and against the interests of our community. It is a crime against our society that they speculate on properties while our families go homeless or live in overcrowded conditions, or tragically, as I've said in my constituency, sleeping rough. This is one of the most important battles that we face in the coming years. That's why, let me tell you very clearly on behalf of Jeremy Corbyn and myself and the Labour opposition, we will do all we can to oppose, but also we will put in place the very plans that will involve tackling this housing crisis by building homes again. Solidarity.
I think it really tells you is that this is a move. We're building this on a shoestring, but we've all got a part to play in making this happen. So make sure that before you go away, you've left an email, you've taken some leaflets, you've helped get your group linked up and helped to organise and build this movement. The couple who are going to speak next, I think, are a really good example of how, if we stand and fight, you can build a campaign that everybody knows about. Next, I'd like to ask Focus E15, Shirley and Focus are going to come and say a bit about their campaign and where they've got to and what's next.
Thank you.
Hello everyone! I'm so happy to be on this march today and it's so significant to see everybody here. My name's Saskia, I'm from the Focus E15 housing campaign. We've been going for just over 2 years and I want to stand here today and say if we're going to fight this we need to organise in the streets and we need to organise in our local communities with people that are on the harsh end of housing. I'm really happy to be standing with Charlie today from the campaign. This campaign met Charlie 3 weeks ago. Charlie's been sleeping on the streets outside the Newham housing office for 2 years. The reason we met Charlie and we're standing with Charlie today is because we are consistently on the streets meeting people that want to fight for housing. If this means anything today is to show that our strength should be towards organising people that are not organised. We should put our strength into fighting with those that are on the harshest end of housing, not simply voting for the next Labour Council. We need to represent ourselves, fight for ourselves and be consistent. And then we will Focus E15, the housing campaign. Cheers. Thanks that we've won the support of some of the trade unions whose members are either affected as housing workers themselves, or in the case of teachers, are seeing the terrible things that are happening to children and their families at the same time as teachers themselves can't afford a decent home. So I'm really pleased that we've got the support, amongst others, from the National Union of Teachers, and Alex Kelly is here to say a few words. Sorry.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be bringing you greetings from the National Union of Teachers and our General Secretary, Christine Bell. We want to congratulate the organisers of this rally and thank you all for turning out. I think this is a fantastic turnout. It says something, doesn't it? We're in the 4th or 5th richest economy in the world. We have to demonstrate for the right to have affordable housing. We have to demonstrate for the right to families to live in decent, secure housing. That's a real indictment of our government and their housing policy. And I think what it tells us is that we have a government that knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. A government that is prepared to see this housing crisis and do nothing about it. A government that is cutting education funding. A government that is prepared to sell off the NHS. When health, homes and education should be the 3 stable things in a decent society, along with the right to a long-term job and a safe and secure job. Things that the government are paying no attention to at the moment. I'm just going to say something about housing in a minute, but I do just want to tell you that on Tuesday we have members in 6th form colleges who will be on strike against cuts to 6th form college funding that are seeing courses closed and teachers being made redundant and the chances of working class people in further education being decimated by this government. So if you live near a 6th form college, please do support our members there who will be on strike on Tuesday. We're supporting this demonstration and we're supporting the campaign against the housing bill and on housing for two reasons really. One is that our members, particularly in London, are telling us they can't afford to stay in London, and that is causing a problem for schools. Head teachers are telling us they're finding it difficult to recruit and retain teachers, particularly young teachers. We've just done a survey of young teachers in London. 20% of them tell us they have to still live at home with their parents because they can't afford to rent somewhere or they can't afford to buy somewhere. 60% of young teachers tell us that they will leave London within the next 5 years. They will leave their jobs in schools in the next 5 years. And that will cause a massive problem. If that happens, it will cause a massive problem for schools and for education in London. That's one of the reasons why we're here. But the second reason, and I think the most important reason why NUT members are here today, is that we are seeing the effects in schools in London of the government housing policy and the way this crisis is affecting young people. We're seeing families having to move, sometimes move right out of the area in which they've settled and which their children have started school. And the impact that has on young people, having to move time after time, sometimes having to move school 2 or 3 times during their primary school career, that has a real impact on that child's security and on that child's education as they move through school. So it's a real problem. It's a real problem for teachers, it's a real problem for schools, and it's a real problem for young people and their families. That's why we're here today. That's why we will continue to support the campaign against the housing bill. We will continue to support the demands for fair and decent housing, social housing, a real building programme for social housing and rent control so people can afford to live near where they work, to provide the services that are much needed, and families can have the security and the stability they need as their young people move through schools. So solidarity from the NUT will continue to support the campaign. Let's keep up the fight. Thanks very much.
London Gypsy Travellers are here to explain why they're part of this campaign.
Hello everybody, my name is Lisa. I am from the travelling community. I wanted to come here today to speak for the travellers. The government is trying to ethnic cleanse us and take away our identity. The government forced us off the road in 1994. Now they say we are not gypsies and travellers because we are settled living on sites. You do not have to live on the site, or if you're living on the road, no matter where you're living, it's in your blood to be a traveller. Because we are settled, they no longer want to build any more sites. If you live on the road or on a site or in a house, you are a traveller. The bill wants us to stop counting the needs of gypsies and travellers. Without needs assessment, the numbers of gypsies and travellers in the UK, there will be no more new sites for us. Where is our children's future? Where is this little boy's future and this little girl's future? Their education and everything else. We need more sites. We would not do this to any other ethnic minority what they're doing to the travelling community. We need more sites and we need them now. Travellers' rights are human rights. They should be counted. Travellers' rights are human rights. What do we want? More sites. When do we want them? Now!
To invite Jim Kelly from Unite, the biggest union, who have given us lots of practical support, and that's what we need nationally. We need more of it, but also in every part of the country we need to be getting those people involved in this campaign. So, Jim.
Well, thank you, Chair. And I'd like to spend greetings on behalf of Unite London and Eastern Region to this fantastic turnout and this great protest today. I'd like to give you a London perspective of the crisis. I went on the internet this morning and I checked out the price of homes in Tower Hamlets, an East London borough, working class East London borough. The cheapest one-bedroom flat in Tower Hamlets is £350,000. The most expensive one-bedroom flat in Tower Hamlets is £1 million. If you want to rent a two-bedroom flat in Tower Hamlets, it costs you 1,500 quid a month to rent privately. And the real crime is that many of the places that are for sale are ex-council flats. A 4-bedroom ex-council flat in Tower Hamlets, £555,000. A 1-bedroom ex-council flat in Tower Hamlets is being marketed at £299,999. I think that's 1 penny short of £300,000. And here's the rub. Tower Hamlets is no longer classed as one of the most deprived areas in the UK. And the reason's simple. No, they're not having a laugh. The reason is simple. Because the majority of working class people who can no longer afford to live in Tower Hamlets because of the rents are being cleansed, socially cleansed and moved out of London. That's why it doesn't come up in the figures. We know that social cleansing, the failure to build council houses and the refusal to consider rent controls are not some policy error. Rather, they're very much part of Tory policy to take away our right to housing, education and health, the basics for a decent life. And of course the London Mayor, Boris Johnson, has been a willing henchman for central government. And let's be clear, Johnson's not a funny man, he's not a joker, he's a right-wing, hard right-wing Tory ideologue. And just like his insipid acolyte Goldsmith, we have to make sure that Tory policies, housing policies, will no longer be allowed to continue in London. Let me tell you about Goldsmith. Goldsmith had no problem buying a house in Richmond when he became an MP, because he bought it cash on the nail from a hedge fund in the Cayman Islands. That's how Goldsmith got his house in London. And believe you me, Goldsmith will continue Johnson's policies of social cleansing in London. Make no doubt about that. Unite the Union supports these demonstrations and marches. Unite the Union is fully behind the campaign to defend council housing. But on May the 5th, London has a chance to make a political choice. London can choose to defeat the Tory candidate Goldsmith and support the Labour candidate for Sadiq Khan. That will be a big blow for austerity, and it will be a start of changing London for the better and making sure we stop these crazy policies in housing and make sure we make London yet again a city that we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm quite new to speaking like this. I'm Camilla of Islington Private Tenants and NUT's London Teachers Housing Campaign. I'm a teacher myself. We're against this housing bill, both the teachers and the private renters, because a lot of us are on the waiting list, and this housing bill will compel more people onto the private rental market. We have to kill the housing bill, as you know. We believe that everyone deserves a safe home in the community and a safe tenure that they can afford. It's not only affecting young renters and young teachers. I'm actually quite old, I'm 39 and I'm a teacher with a disability. I used to work in the private rental sector, in the private sector on minimum wage, and I still was not priority for council housing. And this is some 15 years ago, and I paid about 50% of my wages in rent. So what did I do? I got a degree, I got my PGCE as an adult, and I re-qualified to become a teacher so that I could have more security. As a private renter, you're nothing more than a slave to the rental market and the landlord, excuse my language. Okay, the landlord's reference you when you're renting. You can't reference check them. You have to pay to be reference checked. To make matters worse, they actually check your income. Some estate agents subject you to an income check that you have to pay for. And this is income discrimination. Teachers, further education students, parents of the pupils that we teach, and other people in the private rented sector are constantly subjected to this treatment. On top of that, the tenures are 6 months or 1 year, and they don't know where they're going to live from 1 year to the next. They can't plan to meet the families. They can't plan for apply for promotion. They can't go and study because they have to work in order to afford to rent. As my comrade was saying, young and newly qualified teachers, and many of the parents that we teach, and many young workers these days, they earn less than £26,000 per year. And if you earn less than £26,000 per year as a private renter, you are now compelled to claiming housing benefits. While claiming housing benefits, you are treated, as you know, like dirt by the housing staff, the landlords and the media. No landlord will let you at all. Before the cap came into place, people who earned less than £26,000 still couldn't rent a flat because nobody will let to them. So everybody, teachers, parents, workers, we all need a home. We all need a safe home and an affordable home and a tenure. And London needs teachers, that was going to be my end, and other workers, but we cannot afford London. So we call for a reversal of this bill completely, as well as an introduction of rent controls and secure tenures across the private and the social sector. Thank you. Right, we're going to wrap this up, but before you go, if you're not already in touch with the campaign, make sure you put an email or take some leaflets. Make sure you're we've got a way of communicating because we need to build this, we need to build it strong and wide in order to stop what these people are intending to do to us. The final speaker is bringing a message from Jeremy Corbyn about where he stands on the housing bill. I'm going to wrap this up because it's bad, and the next time we're here we'll have a better sound system. But let's have a final message and then we'll give it a bit of a shout and go on our way.
I'm going to do something radical and not use the sound system because this must be one of the worst I've come across. I'm Emily Thornbury, I'm from Islington South, and I've got a message from a certain Jeremy Corbyn from Islington North. And he says, I'm sorry not to be able to join you today on this demonstration against the housing bill. Housing is one of the most important issues that faces our country today. The UK has a chronic housing crisis. We are not building enough homes, homes for people to rent, homes for people to buy. The Tory housing bill will not solve the housing crisis. It will make it worse. Their bill will force the sell-off of existing council homes to the highest bidder. It will remove secure tenancies, impose a pay-to-stay market, link rent rises for council and housing association tenants. It will result in increased rents and longer waiting lists. It will reduce the rights for private renters and for travellers. And it will replace affordable homes for rent with starter homes that almost no one can afford. A few weeks ago, the government published the latest figures for rough sleepers. In a year, there has been a 30% rise of people sleeping in doorways in the middle of the night, abandoned by this heartless government. The reliance on the free market has failed hundreds of thousands of families up and down our country. We have to reverse the dogma that is ripping our communities apart. Let's put an end to the social apartheid that allows new housing developments to be built with two entrances, one for private owners and the other for social housing tenants. We fought segregation and we won. We will fight social segregation and win. Labour will outlaw poor doors. To build the homes we need, we must recognise the huge role that local authorities, housing associations and housing co-ops can play in delivering the affordable homes to buy and rent. The Tory housing bill is a disaster. It is making the situation worse, not better. Labour will repeal this act. Labour will invest in the homes that we need. Keep the fight going, and together we can build a better Britain for all. Let's
Bit of a shout about the housing bill.
Which is demolishing our homes across London. We want Sadiq Khan to write his manifesto to ban the regeneration schemes which are evicting people across this city. We don't want to hear that they're going to build more council homes in 5 years' time. Labour are the ones who are implementing the social cleansing Don't blame the Tory party for regeneration schemes.
Make sure you get your leaflet.
Don't worry. So I've got that document from the computer and I can't get it. It's on my... Get another one. I don't have it. Thank you.
With 19 estates, what has Diane Abbott got to say about the 19 estates which are being regenerated, demolished and evicted by Labour Council-led regeneration schemes?
Yes.
This is no platform for Labour lies.
Come and talk to me. Yeah.